Rottweiler Vlogs, episode 142. Mizzo and Mack out here in Lake Charles, Louisiana with my man Carlon Harrison of Debonair Kennels. This is a dope episode. Be sure you treat the algorithm right, like, share, and subscribe. And as always, enjoy the video.
What's up, Rottweiler world? My name is Carlon Harrison, the owner of Debonair Rottweiler Kennels in Southwest Louisiana. It's Lake Charles, Louisiana, that is. I'm new to the Rottweiler world. Just look forward to networking with a lot of people in the Rottweiler world. I first fell in love with the Rottweiler breed. I was 7 years old. Neighborhood friend, Mack Goodwin, his dad, Lynn LaMelle, had the biggest Rottweiler. You know, when I was a kid coming up, even remember his name. His name was Zeus. The dog got out one day. Just had everybody, scared to go outside. But the dog was just so beautiful, shiny, pretty dark black, with the tan markings. And ever since then, I always wanted, to have a Rottweiler. Well, Lynn, we call him Coach. I ended up playing for him a few years later. I think I was 11 years old, played on his rec Pee Wee football team. And he ended up having a litter of puppies from Zeus, that same dog. And I was able to, he actually give me my first full-blooded Rottweiler puppy. Her name was Peppers. So I'm still thankful to, this day that, I was able to get my Rottweiler through him, off of my first love, off of that same dog. At that time, from what I can remember, like the late 80s, early 90s, Rottweiler was a real popular dog. In fact, at that time, I'm a fast track you for a minute. Later on in my life, I did end up, I got a blue pit. But now I'm gonna go back to the 90s. Back in those 90s, pit bulls was just like they were spoke on as a real vicious dog at that time. So we wasn't allowed to have them. My parents wouldn't even let us, own one. Somewhere from like the late 90s, the Rottweiler started coming with the bully breed, which is a bigger dog, but so-called not as aggressive as the American pit. So then I later on ended up getting one of those. It was kind of a wave trend at the time, so I kind of went with that. Had them for a while. Like I said, my love is a Rottweiler, so I started looking, everywhere for a Rottweiler, a good Rottweiler, and it's hard to find. I ended up getting years later, I get another American Bully. Then that's when the more exotic started coming out. If you know anything about like the exotic, they were more low, compact to the ground, a wider, more massive build of dog. But I was, for my dog was a standard, he didn't have a kink tail, wasn't too bow, didn't have the, I think they call it left-right, the outward foot. He was just a perfect built dog, no underbite. But as these bullies were, exotic bullies, these micros, it was just like I couldn't really grow to them because I just didn't feel that they were. How can I say that?
It wasn't the breed for you.
It wasn't the breed. You know what I mean? It just wasn't the breed for me, and I didn't think that the blood was. I didn't think it was consistent. You know what I mean? So consistent. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you might have a litter of six puppies, and you might have one perfect dog. You know what I mean? But the rest have kink tails. But to each his own. Not knocking anybody in the bully world, but I just didn't like that. So I got one after my blue pit that got stolen. And as I'm looking at everybody else with, with the bullies, I knew I had to go exotic. It just, they just didn't stick out like, the others. Mm-hmm. So, Stella Hernandez out of California was a friend of my in-laws, my brother-in-law. And they had bought bullies from her. I reached out to Stella. Got a dog, Castro. I mean, I just fell in love with Castro from the first time I seen him. He just had everything that I liked in a bully. But once I got him, in fact, the day I got him, see, that's another thing with some of these bullies, which is why I left that breed of dog. It's a lot of health issues with them because of the way they're bred. A lot of them are heavy with bulldog in them, or English bulldog.
As you were saying, and I was just thinking this to myself. I don't really know too much about the American bully and how they shrink the dogs down to size that fast. But I've heard that they mix them with English bulldog and even French bulldog. Have you heard the same thing, or have you seen this type? Can you speak to that a little bit, or that's something you don't know of?
Yeah, I mean, no. Like I said, I never did any breeding. I know people that have done it, and I mean, a lot of people, they'll probably argue me and tell me otherwise. But I mean, just think about it. American Pit. I mean, you knew the size of those dogs. It was 30, 45, sometimes 50 pounds at the biggest, and that was heavy. And all of a sudden, now you have these dogs like 90, 95 pounds, and where did that come from? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's the same thing like when we in Louisiana, so I got to keep it true to the Louisiana Catahoula leopard dog, right?
Right.
With the marrow markings. I mean, where else could it come from?
Yeah.
I mean, even when I see on Instagram, Facebook, I see some of the photos of some of the dogs, and I look at that snout, I can see that Catahoula. When
right.
Am I off base, or am I
you're on point?
Okay,
you're
all right.
On point.
So, yeah, I mean, I can understand your thinking and thought process. Ultimately, that led you back to the Rottweiler.
That's right. You know what I mean? And like I said, not speaking bad. I mean, I love the look. I love the look of the dog. But when you get too exotic, a lot of people don't realize that are inexperienced about that particular breed. You don't find an English bulldog outside. You know what I mean? And I didn't understand that getting into it. Like I said, I had a standard before, and I had him inside. But I mean, he can live comfortably outside if need be. Well, versus I get this dog Castro from California, and then are you talking about a different climate from California to Louisiana? You know what I mean? It's real hot. So those dogs have to, they're more maintenance. They have to be taken care of a little more than versus a dog of original origin that's used to living outside. So the day I got Castro, this is the day. First off, he was on. I think he was, he was dropped to my house through a. How do you call that when they come on
a transporter?
Yeah, transporter. That's right. That's correct. So he come in with with the transporter. So he wasn't eating like he would normally eat just for being on the road. I think I had him outside. It wasn't 3 hours. I left, went into town. My wife at the time was pregnant. She come back home and she was just like, Carlon, I'm looking at the dog. He's panting real hard, and maybe he's just getting used to being in this this climate. Well, literally within 3 hours of him making it here from California to Lake Charles, Louisiana, I almost lost him.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So
he had that pushed in kind of brassicalitis.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. So I say, man, come on, this can't be happening. I mean, the dog wasn't free. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah, well, no cost grip.
The price wasn't.
Cost grip, yeah.
Yeah. So I said, man, this can't be happening. So I contact Stella. She kind of walked me through it. You know what I mean? Of what to do. Told me to calm down. And my brother-in-law, which had the dogs, Nathan Ledette, over K&T Kennels at the time. He told me, to get alcohol, put under the pad. Hey, he said don't shoot him with a water hose, none of that. He'll go in the shop. So he was able to get over here as well to help me, nurse my dog back somewhat to, at least enough we felt comfortable to put him in the truck to bring him, to the vet.
Gotcha.
So again, that was another penny. Bringing him to the vet. The vet was closing when we were there. They did what they could, and they recommended a local animal clinic that they monitor the dogs overnight and through the weekend. That was a Friday, if I can remember. They had to keep my dog for a week,
Wow.
with an IV, to get him back up and just monitoring him. And it was kind of a 50-50 chance if he would even, make it. So he ended up pulling through. He made it. Brought him home, but then realized, he had to stay in the house. He just couldn't go. He couldn't go outside at all.
Yeah, just like a Frenchie.
Right.
Wow.
So now I think a lot of people see these dogs. They see them and they look good. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I'm not knocking the breed at all. But that's just one thing that if you get into it, just do your research, first, and be prepared to have it in air-conditioned, facility. And one other thing that kind of just turned me off about that breed was, I couldn't really enjoy the dog like I wanted. You know what I mean? Like you can't walk them long. A lot of people, like I said, unless you actually own one and and experience these things, I'm telling you now, you might go into it blind and and be like I did. And so I'm like, man, I got this nice looking dog, but I really can't walk him around the block.
Can't do nothing with it.
Because he's not like a standard.
Got you.
Standard, you can do
You
that.
can move
but
and groove. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and I know that's gonna, we got all types of people who watch these videos, so that's game.
Right.
That's game. So thank you for sharing that.
Right. I mean, it's funny because like I said, I had the bullies at this time. I still had the bullies, like I told you before, from Stella. So I wasn't quite ready to get one, but my dad was looking to, to get a Rottweiler. Because, like I said, we had them when, we were coming up. I looked for them, for years before I actually got, even before the last bully I got. I typed in, hey, the best Rottweiler kennels in the world. It was Von Rumen come up. But then it said California. Well, I wanted something, what I thought would be best to get overseas, out of Germany. So I typed in German imports, and it was still Von Rumen coming up. So I looked at these dogs, and they all had full tails. And I've never seen a dog here, in the States for sure with a full tail, by this time. So I'm like, man, they have nice build, nice bone structure, but they have full tails. So I remember calling Von Rumen, and I said, well, look, if I was to get a dog, can I get the tail clip? So, and the guy was like, man, this is really what he said. He said, I mean, if you go on a car lot, I mean, if you buy it without a fender. I mean, you could take that either way, but it just kind of, it really made sense when he said it. At first I was just like, I always seen them with a cut tail. I thought they supposed to have a clipped tail. I have one with a clipped tail, and I'll probably never own another dog with a clipped tail. And that's funny, like I said, because I just like that look with a clipped tail in the beginning years. Like I told you, the first dog I fell in love with, Rottweiler, they had a clipped tail, Zeus. But I at that time, like I said, I wasn't educated, on the reason for the clipped tail or the reason, why they had long tails. Because it's not common. It's uncommon to see them. Still, today here in the States, with a full tail. But knowing what I know now, like I said, I'll probably never own another one with a clipped tail. I just like that look now.
So you ultimately you got your Rottweiler from Butler Kennels. What's the name of the dog that you got from Tony? And tell us a little about that dog.
His name's Meech. We call him Big Meech. He's a big dog. He's a little over 7 months, and he's 82 pounds at the time.
Nice.
I actually got to visit his kennel before I got this puppy, and when I seen Hulk, I was like, man, Butler, I want one off of Hulk. I want one. Well, he ended up getting another imported dog, and I seen the mom and dad. I don't even remember his name right off.
Yeah, he has some good, a few good studs. Barack is another one. He has one named Barack, I believe. So yeah, he got some studs. So that's where your male came from. You got a female from Von Rumen?
Right.
All right. So what's the name of that female? Talk to me a little bit about her.
Her name's Nova.
Okay.
Like I said, at the time I got the male from Butler, I reached back out again because it took me almost 2 years to get Meech. Was on a list that long. Man, when I first went to Butler, I visited his his kennel. We literally, they probably had 30 people call his phone when I was there. Oh yeah, it was just like unbelievable. So I understood. I was gonna be on a waiting list for a while. Closer to the time when I was getting ready to get Meech, I reached back out to Von Rumen. Like I said, I liked what they were putting out. Just a all around correct dog. Mm-hmm. Maybe not even the biggest dog, but then for what I see in a dog, what I like, it brings me all the way back to the dog Zeus I seen as a kid. Just a perfect, correct dog. Just perfect build.
Got you. How's the temperament of both of your Rottweilers?
They both have real good temperament. I think Nova's she's the more aggressive. Not in a bad way, just real protective. That's funny. I brought him to get groomed a few days ago, and Meech don't like to get his nails clipped. So as he was getting his nails clipped by the groomer, he kind of he kind of twitched and moved around, and you can see Nova just like kind of getting thought they were harming me. I love Von Rumen. At the time when I first started, I couldn't afford one. I'm just gonna be honest. I couldn't buy one at the time. And everything that I could afford, it wasn't like Von Rumen. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the Butler breed. It wasn't. You know what I mean? So anyway, now I have these two dogs, and I'm really getting into it. I'm on the internet almost every day. Getting on my wife's nerves at different times of the night. Telling her this, and asking her about this. You know what I mean? How to even feed the dogs, and the research that I received on that. So I'm on the internet. I come across these blogs, Mike Mongo. So I see all these Rottweilers. I'm like, well, man, what were these dogs? Over the years when I've been looking, for this breed, I'm seeing a lot of nice Rottweilers that I guess just wasn't exposed at the time on the web or the internet. And man, I see your dog. Before I even see your dog, I see the vlog with Sean Brantley, and like, man, it's a nice dog. Just massive. You see Aqua Force. That's when I look at more vlogs that you put out at the time, and I see Batman. Anybody that know me, even Tony, he'll tell you. Before I ever seen your dog, I said, man, do you breed like darker dogs? Like with a lot of black on them. You know what I mean? And he throw them, but that's just not something that's not a common dog to see. You know what I mean? When I see your dog, I said, man, I've never seen nothing like this. And just I fell in love with it, and I hear you Aqua Force. I'm like, man, Aqua Force, and you talk about Simone, and and Carlon, and right away, I think I inboxed you, if I can remember right, and just told you, man, that you have a nice dog, And from there, I went on to, I found Simone, on Facebook and Instagram. Mm-hmm. So immediately I said, hey, I like your dogs. You have any puppies coming? And luckily, she had a litter that wasn't fully spoken for at the time. My brother-in-law was looking for a dog as well, which we joined together to make Debonair Kennel.
You guys imported together too?
Yes,
Nice.
yes. So I was the one doing all the the communicating with Simona, but that is his dog. We got 2 females out of that litter. Simona, she reached out right away. I'm pretty sure I was getting on the nerves at times, because the time frame is just so different. But she got right back with me. Sent, when the puppies actually dropped, updated me with pictures almost every week. You know what I mean? And just willing to, to talk when she could. Just kept me informed on everything,
Yeah, that makes all the difference in the world, especially.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of European breeders, particularly not Simona and Carlon, because they communicate with me so much, they've learned how we do things here.
Right.
And you and me, we ain't about to just be sending nobody no money.
Right. So back on that, I seen I think it was Sean Brantley, if I can remember. And
he talked about in the documentary, right?
Yes. So
he talked about.
Yeah, again, I seen, and that, like I said, man, these vlogs help a lot because, before I even seen that, I was like, well, man, even if I did find a person overseas, like, I don't want to take the risk on losing money, because I've heard of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he spoke so highly of her, and how trustworthy she was. Her and Carlon were, and so I was like, well, man, all these people, going through Aqua Force and not having any issues, So I mean, the same thing, I felt comfortable right away, and like I said, and she said, hey, you have any questions, feel free, to contact me anytime. You know what I mean? It just made me feel like she was right here. You know what I mean? Like just through a text message and a phone call. Just willing to anything she could do to help me out or anything I didn't understand. Just made me feel just so welcome. Simone called me early that morning. She was like, the dogs, they should be there soon, and it was like to me when you have a breeder concern like that, you know what I mean, about. You know what I mean? You getting there, being there on time, it just shows me it's almost like I think like a parent. I can speak on it. I'm a father now. 3 kids, but if I set my kids off somewhere, I'm probably gonna be calling, like making sure they made it safe, and you know what I mean. They got food, and that's how Simona was. And she called me, I think 2 hours before the dogs even made it, and just like, the dog's gonna be here, this and that, and. Just making sure that I was prepared for it, and what I have to do, as far as my broker, and which we had all that. We have been, already worked that out. But it was smooth. It was a sweet experience, because I, just to have an import. I just felt like I really had something. Not to say I didn't already, because I had, from some reputable breeders, but just to get this import. I felt like I got something that I kind of overjumped a lot of things, getting an import dog, and something I always wanted to do. And I just felt like once I got this is the beginning of taking me where I need to go as far as, the breeding. Before they even come, Simone was telling me, that it's important to just spend a lot of time with them. They, that they're coming to a different language. Different tones, so it's just important to spend as much time, you know what I mean, with the dog to get them closer. The first time I got them, when I made it to the airport to reach in there, they both of them move. Mine and my brother-in-law's dog, they go to the back of the kennel, like they almost didn't want you to touch them, you know what I mean. So I just took my time with them, you know what I mean. Rub them down real good. Even when they come home, I took an old shirt that I had and just stuck in there. I want them to get familiar with, my smell, my kids' smell. Did the same thing, with my kids. I'd say after about it didn't take as long as I expected. Well, mine for sure started coming around more. That's Aqua Force Karma is her name. You know what I mean? She started. obedience school. In fact, she just finished it Monday, completed her first
Good.
obedience. So that's another thing. I had her around as many, you know what I mean, people.
Socializing.
That's right. You know, I just wanted her to be comfortable and not scared or standoffish when she would intervene or with anybody.
Yeah, no, you did the right thing. What does the future hold for your kennel, you and your business partner?
So what we talk about, the blood that we got, when you get the size of the Butler Kennel Rottweiler, you get what I think is the most correct Von Ruhlman. You get the size, from Simona and Carlon. That bloodline is just, it's just something out, it's unbelievable. So what we doing? We figure we put those, up to get everything that we want in a dog, the head size, the body size, to build our own brand, which is Debonair, which is how we come up with the name that. Just like it said, it's just a unique, stylish look. That's the mark that we're shooting for in the Debonair Kennel. Like I said, you having a vlog, man, that just opened our horizon. You know what I mean? Like I said, without you, I never see Batman. I don't meet Simona. I don't get a dog from Simona. You know what I mean? So I just think that's a great thing that you're doing for the Rottweiler world.
Right. Well, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Just want to tell any breeders, just do your research on everything, and don't just jump into something fast. You understand why you want to get into this breed. Like I said in the beginning of this vlog, I started with Rottweilers as a kid. I got to the bully, didn't fully understand that breed when I got into it, but one thing I could say, I went back because I knew the Rottweiler was a real loyal dog, real protective dog, just all around good breed of dog. But just do your research, and there's plenty of good kennels here in the States. It don't have to be overseas. You can reach me on Instagram. I have Debonair. It's Debonair_Kennels. My name's Carlon Harrison, and also Debonair Kennels page on Facebook.
Go ahead and spell Debonair for him.
That's DEBONAIR. Debonair Kennels.
Cool. All right. Well, this has been Carlon Harrison of Debonair Kennels out here in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and this is Rottweiler Vlogs 142. This is your episode. Peace.
Peace.